Nat's True Crime Podcast, and I'm going to talk about haunted places in Greenfield, Gardner, and Gloucester, Massachusetts. Eunice Williams Covered Bridge, located at 26 Eunice Williams Drive, Greenfield, Massachusetts. Early on the morning of February 29th, 1704, in an event later referred as the Deerfield Massacre, a group of 300 French and North American soldiers invaded the defenseless town of Deerfield, Massachusetts, killing 56 villagers and taking 112 hostages. The remaining hostages were forced to walk over 300 miles north to Montreal, and those unable to make the journey were executed and left at the site of the death. One such villager was a young woman named Eunice Williams, who was unable to make the journey after giving birth the previous day. She collapsed while crossing the Green River and was executed with a hatchet by a Native American soldier in front of her husband, Reverend John Williams, and their 5 children. The Eunice Williams Covered Bridge was constructed during the 1870 and named in honor of the late Eunice Williams, along with a sign commemorating the Deerfield Massacre. The area is said to be haunted by the ghost of Eunice Williams, whose apparition is allegedly seen by pedestrians and motorists at night. Others report witnessing her apparition in the water below the bridge or near the dam just upstream, where many of those claimed to hear the sound of a woman screaming. S.K. Pierce Haunted Victoria Mansion. The S.K. Pierce Mansion, located at 4 West Broadway, Gardner, Massachusetts. The S.K. Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts was constructed in 1875 by a wealthy businessman named Sylvester Knowlton Pierce. It is said to be haunted by the spirit of several former residents, includes Mr. Pierce, who passed away in 1888, as well as his first wife, Susan, who died suddenly after of a bacterial illness within a month of the mansion's completion. Due to financial difficulty during the 1930s, the S.K. Pierce Mansion was remodeled and used as a boarding house which then became a haven for illegal drinking, gambling, and prostitution. It's rumored that during this time, a prostitute staying on the second floor was strangled to death and her killer was never discovered. The woman's spirit is said to haunt the old mansion and is most often seen by guests on the second floor in the room where she was killed. Another ghost said to haunt the SKPS mansion is that of a man named Inosari, who is believed to have died of spontaneous combustion in 1963 after his charred remains were found in the mess room without any visible damage to the surrounding area. The SKPS mansion was sold in 2015 at a fraction of its estimate value after multiple negative residents were allegedly drove from the house by the violent nature of the spirits there. It opened the following year as a haunted tourist attraction called the SKPS Haunted Victorian Mansion, which often guided tours and overnight stays to paranormal investigators who are first requested to sign a ability waiver before entering the location. Those who are brave enough to stay overnight at the haunted mansion report experiencing a variety of unexplained poltergeist activity, includes ghostly voices, footsteps and whisperings, and objects being moved or thrown across the room without warning. Others report being pushed or otherwise physically attacked by an unseen entity, as well as experiencing lights flickering, doors slamming shut, and electronic devices such as TVs turning on and off by themselves. The SKPS mansion is also believed to be haunted by several other unidentified spirits, includes that of a former maid and a young girl believed to be Sylvester P.S.'s granddaughter. The SKPS haunted Victoria Mansion is considered to be one of the most haunted houses in the state of Massachusetts and was featured on an episode of the popular TV series Ghost Adventures in September of 2013. Dogtown, the common settlement located at Dogtown Road, Gloucester, Massachusetts. Dogtown was established in 1693 as the common settlement where it is established. Over 100 families resided at one point. By the end of the War of 1812, most of the settlements community had resettled, and by 1830 the village was almost completely abandoned. The only residents who remained were widows and other outcasts who had no family to follow. And it's during the time that strange rumors began to circulate about the town. Many of the women who were forced to stay behind at the common settlement were accused of practicing witchcraft as a means of survival, and residents began to witness shadow figures and strange flickering lights in the surrounding woods. At night, one woman named Thomasine Younger, also known by locals as Tammy, had developed such a infamous condition that traveling and other pass through the abandoned settlement would often leave of fish and corn for the alleged witch, in hopes of avoiding her wrath or receding, had pleasing the common settlement was also a popular spot for vagrants and homeless people to seek refuge, causing the remaining residents to keep guide dogs for protection. It said that as the last remaining residents passed away, their dogs were left to fend for themselves in the woods. Other times, the popular of feral dogs began to grow, and the old settlement was given the name Dogtown. The last remaining homes in Dogtown were in 1845, at which point the settlement was used by locals as grazing lands for livestock until the 1920s. Dogtown and the surrounding forest is now used as a refugee area for hikers, bikers, bicyclists, and other natural enthusiasts who often claim to hear the distant howls of feral dogs and coyotes at night. Others hiking in the woods have reported feeling a strange presence, as if being followed or watched by an unseen entity. One popular urban legend claims that dogs is home to a werewolf or some type of half-human, half-canine creature, which have allegedly been seen by Gloucester residents numerous times, being in the 1980s on the event of March 17th, 1984, the night of a full moon. Separate individuals report witnessing a monster-like, canine-like beast walking on 2 feet in the woods near Dogtown, and several days later, a mutilated deer carcass was found at the location where the sighting occurred. Over the years, countless witnesses have came forward with first-hand experiences of paranormal activity at Dogtown, which has made it one of the most popular, well-known ghost towns in the state of Massachusetts. The Hamel Castle Museum on 80 Hespers Avenue, Gloucester, Massachusetts. Hamilton Castle in Gloucester, Massachusetts was constructed in 1929 as a private home and laboratory for a man named John Hayes Hamel Jr., who was re-owned as being a scientist in the field of electronics and remote control technology. Mr. Hammond was often referred to as the father of radio control and held over 400 unique patents at the time of his death in February of 1965. After his death, Hamilton Castle was turned into a museum, which is said to be haunted by Mr. Hamel, as well as several other spirits. Custodians and other employees working at the location late at night have reported witnessing the spirit of Mr. Hamel, his wife, Mrs. Irene Hamel, and other male figures who is believed to be a former servant or groundskeeper. Guests touring the old castle also report experiencing issues with cell phones and other electronic devices, as well as feeling a strange presence as if being watched by an unseen entity. Hamilton Castle was added to the National Registry of Historic Places in May of 1973. Thanks for watching my podcast. Please like, subscribe, and comment.